Hi, welcome to Exercise for Beginners, where I teach you how to get started if you've never started before. This week, we are going to do another leg day part 2. I do have a couple of accessories with me. This time around, I have a mini band, I have a long band, and then I also have some furniture sliders. Seems goofy, but they're multi-purpose, furnitures and exercises. So first exercise, we are going to progress off of the squat we did last time, and we're going to add a band to it. So this just adds a little bit of resistance. I'm using a green mini band by Perform Better. These ones I think are rated like 15 to 25 pounds of resistance, so it just adds a little something. And then if you are someone like myself that requires a little bit of a heel lift, make sure you get those all set for yourself, whether it's 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, wherever you're at, whatever keeps you the most upright without hinging over too far. So with our squat, we have that band above the knee. Otherwise, the movement itself, exactly the same. So the nice part about the band is it adds a little extra oomph in the glutes, which is ideal, especially in the beginning. You do want to work everything, but a little extra glute support when you're just starting your journey is ideal. So I'll show you a front view here as well, just so you can see. So I set my feet up. I have slightly longer femurs, so a little wider, slightly outside my hips. All right, you want to make sure your knees, they do go over the toes, and you want them to stay in line with, like, say your middle toe, second toe, third toe. What you don't want that, right? If you struggle with that to begin with, knee valgus, a band is actually a good mental feedback for your squats. So something to keep in mind. So again, knees in line with the toes, come back up. Also make sure that you're keeping your core nice and engaged. So eventually, these types of squats are great as a nice warm-up. Or if you're trying to train those glutes to support your knees. Okay, so from here we're going to move on to everyone's favorite, a single leg movement. I know most of us hate them, but we got to do them. So single leg, this time we're going to be doing some reverse lunges. So there's different types of lunges. You can do forward, backwards, or side lunges. So this time we're going to be doing reverse lunges. Just as it sounds, you're going to be stepping back, a little tap of the knee. I never like to see people totally collapse, right? So if you're not stable at the bottom, get a support stick. An emotional support stick is one of my clients calls it. Get whatever you need to support yourself. If you need like a chair over here, I want you to get as close to the floor as possible. If you need a pillow, that'll help to decrease the distance you have to go. But if you do collapse a little bit at the bottom, you're supported. I don't want you to mess with your cartilage in your knee, but I do want you to get as much range as possible and work on that. So again, step back, control, little tap, come up. Little tap, come up. When you can control that movement all the way back, that's how you know you might be ready for some weights. All right. Put them nice and upright. I have a lot of control going down. What I do see sometimes with lunges is a lot of this. That is a movement. It's not what we're doing. It's not the type of lunge we're doing. All right. For whatever reason, there's a few reasons, but people get afraid to bend that back knee, or they don't feel supported by that back knee. I know it sucks, but to a certain extent, you just kind of have to do it, and it's probably going to be hard. but you'll get there. You know, if you need to, like I said, grab onto a chair, step back, slowly lower yourself, right? Control, 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 back up. Control, 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 back up. If you just need to try and control your way down, that's what you're doing. And do less reps. If the goal is to work on getting up, start from the bottom and step up. So just get down however you need to and step up. All right. However you need to break up that movement is what you need to do. Okay, number 3 is something I'm sure we've all heard online at some point, a Bulgarian split squat. Best part about a Bulgarian split squat is it is a single leg movement. I actually find them to be a little bit easier because your foot does have some semblance of support once you can cue into engaging your core properly. So it might be tough at first. If this isn't the one for you, no, it's not for you right now. That's fine. There's plenty of other leg exercises out there to get you there. But you're going to prop your foot up behind you on like an ottoman. So what's important with this, you don't want that prop to be too high. So a seat chair might be a little too aggressive. You do want it to be a little bit lower. I think this is kind of in line, if not just below the height of my knee. And that's ideal, right? That's going to give you the easiest range of motion. If the platform is too high, you're going to notice. You're going to feel very unsteady and off balance. And while any single leg movement you can feel that way, it'll be a little more emphasized with this one. So height is definitely key here. So don't go too high. You're better off going too low than anything. All right, and then you're going to find your distance. So for me, it's usually about 2 foot lengths away from where my knee's at in the back. Same thing, drop down, tap the knee, come back up. Drop down, tap the knee, come back up. Again, we want a light tap. We don't want to collapse. All right, so if you need a little bit of a cushion underneath your knee to protect yourself, make sure you're doing that, okay? Keep that knee in line with that second and third toe. Don't let it collapse. Let's switch sides here. Now, a lot of times I hear people, they can't get to the bottom because the stretch is too deep here. That's very common. If that's the case, less reps and just slowly lower yourself and find a depth where the stretch is tolerable. When that's the case, I will say it's multi-purpose then. You're getting 2 things out of it. You're getting strength in that front leg, but you're opening the hips up by stretching the back leg through the hip flexor and the quad. It's uncomfortable. I don't doubt that. But find a range, like I said, that is comfortable, where you can tolerate the stretch. It doesn't bother you a ton. And you're still getting a good workout in the front. Eventually, you'll stretch out and you'll gain that range of motion back in your hips. It just might take a little while. So again, come back down. Worst case scenario, if you find that to be a huge hindrance, you can just do a couch stretch in your spare time. This is a very common stretch to stretch this out. So this is why people feel this stretch at the bottom of a what's it called? Bulgarian split squat to begin with. If you have a hard time just getting in this position, that split squat might be tough for a period of time. And that's a stretch that people can do outside of doing a split squat. So, am I rambling? I feel like I'm rambling. That's okay. You get the point. All right, for our next one, you are going to need furniture sliders. What on earth could we use these for? These are actually good for a lot of exercises. We are going to be doing some hamstring slides though. I'm going to give you a couple versions because they are tough. And then we'll do some hamstring curls adductions with the band. So You're going to start out on the ground as you would for a glute bridge. You're going to come up to a bridge. You're going to slide out and slide back in. Slide out, slide back in. So this one is tough. I make it look unreasonably easy, I'm not gonna lie. This is the easiest it's ever been for me. And that's saying something because I've been doing it for a while. I will say you might cramp with this one. If that is the case, you might want to choose an easier version. So you can tell I'm already sweating a little bit from this one. An easier version would be to do one leg at a time. You get the same kind of activation, just a little less stress on one leg. I would definitely say that's a good starting point. Another option, you can just slowly extend until you hit the floor. Come back. Slowly extend until you hit the floor. That's also a great place to start. It's good for some control. But those are great. Those are also good for different types of lunges. So I do recommend. So from here, you're going to attach your band. I have it attached to my couch. And I'm actually floored that that worked. So attached to the couch, we're going to do some adductions. Adductions, adduction, inner thigh, adductors. All right. So we're going to basically squeeze our legs together. So you're going to lie down, band around your foot, toe pointing towards the ceiling. Squeeze. Squeeze. Super straightforward. I love this one. Adductors are often a little overlooked. They get worked in squats, but they are a catalyst in a lot of hip and like lumbopelvic function stability. So I definitely recommend throwing them in every now and then. Now, I will say with this guy, it's not hard in theory, but if you're a little underactive in the inner thigh there, you might feel it in the opposite side of your low back. If that's the case, don't worry. We work in a crisscross pattern. That's why I say it's a big stabilizer in your low back, pelvic, hip complex, right? So kind of what's happening on one side can affect what's happening on the other. So if you're a little unstable in this movement, you might feel it over there. It's super common, but just start light and maybe adjust your distance so that you're not super tense with the band and that you can maybe reduce what you're feeling a little bit. As long as the next day you're not in any pain or anything, I would say you found the right amount of load and tension and like quantity of reps. So just be mindful of that. It's not a bad thing, but I know it can make some people a little hesitant. Just proceed with caution. That's all. But you should be fine, and it should benefit you and create some stability for you if you get through it. So, thumbs up. All right, thank you for joining me this week on Exercise for Beginners. Those are your 5 leg exercises. Like I said, use support if you need them, adjust the amount of reps if you need to. These are all just suggestions, right? I have a lot of content out there now. So find the movements that work for you. You know, go at a pace that works for you. I hope I gave you enough alternatives in this one if you needed it. If this content interests you and you find value in having a little bit of guidance in starting, please subscribe to my channel. I try to post videos every Tuesday.